Hello guys, today I want to discuss an interview in Neosoft, and this was the second part of the interview. First part I have already shared, and the company name is Neosoft and location is Mumbai, and the interview date is the May 19, 2025. So they asked me what is get, put and patch. So I said get request is one of the most commonly used HTTP methods used to retrieve data from a server via an API application programming interface. When a client like Postman, a browser, or a front end application send a GET request to an API endpoint, it asks the server to return specific resources or information such as user details, product lists, or settings. GET requests are read only operations and do not modify any data on the server. Second is the POST request. So POST request is used to send data to an API to create something new on the server. For example, you use post to add new user, submit a form, or upload a photo. Okay, so post request is used to send data to an API to create something new on the server. For example, you use post to add new user, submit a form, or upload a file. Third is they ask me the put request. So a put request is used to update existing data on the server. It usually replaces the entire resources with the new data. Patch request. A patch request is used to partially update existing data on the server. Unlike put, it only changes the specific fields you send. And the delete request. A delete request is used to remove data from the server. It deletes a specific resources like a user or a record permanently. Question number 14, they ask what is the htaccess file. So the answer is .htaccess file is created in order to enable extra features for that subdirectory. You can use the .htaccess file to modify various configurations and thus make changes to your website. These changes include authorization, error handling, redirects for specific URLs, user permission, etc. So in the short, .htaccess is a configuration file used to Apache web server. It allows you to control the behavior of your website or web directory without changing the main server settings. The file is placed in a specific directory and the rules inside apply to that directory and its subdirectories. What can .htaccess do? Redirect URLs like sending old page to new URLs. Rewrite URLs, make URLs look cleaner or friendlier. Set up custom errors page like 404 not found page. Control access, password protected folders, block IPs. Enable or disable feature like gzip compression. Manage caching for better performance. For example, redirect old page.html to new page.html. So redirect 301 old page.html, new page.html. Custom 404 error page. So error document 404 or 404 HTML. So why is .htaccess useful? You can change your website setting easily without needing to edit the server configuration or restart the server. It gives more control to website owner to or developers on shared hosting where server access is limited. Another question they ask me what is the indexes? They ask me what is the indexes in MySQL. So an index in MySQL is a database structure that improves the speed of data retrieval operation on a table at the cost of the additional storage and maintenance overhead. It works similarly to the index of a book, allowing MySQL to find rows much faster without scanning the entire table. Type of index in MySQL: primary key index, unique identifier for each row, automatically created when you define a primary key. Okay, unique index, ensure all values in a column are unique. Regular non-unique index, speed up queries for column with duplicate values. Full text index, for full text search in large text field, char varchar text, only support on INNODB or MyISAM. Create full text index IDX description on article description. Composite index, create based on multiple columns. Create index IDX name email on user's name email. Special index used for the geospatial data. So how do you use index? Create an index. So first of all, you have to create index IDX column on table name, column name. How do you delete an index? Drop index IDX column on table name. View existing index, show index from table name. Benefits of using indexes: faster data retrieval, improve performance of select, join and where queries. Limitation: slower insert, update and delete operation. Increase storage requirement. How many index can be built if we have 16 fields? So general limits of MySQL INNODB: maximum numbers of index per table 64, maximum number of columns in a composite index 16 columns, maximum key length 3072 bytes for INNODB. So index scenario for 16 fields. Given 16 fields, the theoretical combinations are: single column index. You can create 16 unique single column indexes. Composite indexes. You can combine up to 16 columns in each index but are still limited to 64 total indexes. Example index combination. Single column index. Create index IDX field 1 on table field 1. Create index IDX field 2 on table name field 2. This gives 16 simple index. Composite index example: create index composite on table name field 1 field 2. Create index IDX composite 2 on table name field 3 field 4. Here is how to create a table with 16 fields and add indexed in MySQL. Step 1: create the table. Create table and use the field 1 to field 16. Now create the 16 single column index. So create index IDX field 1 on example underscore table field 1 and up to 16. Another question they ask me: what are the triggers in MySQL? A trigger is a code associated with the insert, update, delete operation, that is IUD. Triggers. A trigger is a stored procedure in database which automatically invokes whenever a special event in the database occurs. For example, a trigger can be invoked when a row is inserted into a specific table or when certain tables columns are being updated. Let's create a very simple example to demonstrate how a MySQL trigger works. We'll create two tables. Users, a table to store user data. User underscore log, a table to log any updates made to the users table. So step 1, create the users and user log tables. Okay. The user table stores user ID, username and email. The user log table stores logs about the email changes, specifically the user ID, old and new email values, and the timestamp when the change was made. Okay, so how do you create a trigger? Now we will create a before update trigger that will log any changes in the email field in the users table. So create the trigger. Delimiter, create trigger before user update, before update on users for each row. Begin. Check if the email is being updated. If old.email is doesn't equal to new.email, then insert into user underscore log user ID old email new email. values old.user id, old.email, new.email, and if and so delimiters. So this before update trigger will fire before any update to the users table. If the email is changed, that is the old email is different from the new email, the trigger will log the old and new email values into the logger into the user log table. So perform an update. Let's update a user's email in the user table. The trigger will automatically log the changes in the user log table. So insert a sample user, some dummy data, insert into users. Okay, then update the user's email. This will trigger the logging in the user log table. Update user set email equal to John at the rate and where user ID equal to 1. Check the logs. After performing the update, you can check the user log table to see the log of a email change. So select start from the user log, then you would see an entry in the user log table like this: log id 1, user id 1, old email you will get something, new email you will get something, and updated. Okay, summary: we create two simple tables, users and user.log. We create a trigger that logs any changes to the email fields in the users table into the user log table. The trigger automatically fired when the email was updated and the change was logged in user log. Question 17. Transactions. In SQL, a transaction is a set of operations that are executed as a single unit. The operations can include multiple SQL statements such as insert, update, or delete. Transactions ensure that the database maintains its integrity and consistency according to the ACID properties: atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Basic transaction commands: start transaction, initiate a transaction, commit saves all changes made during the transaction to the database, rollback undoes all changes made during the transaction, returning the database to its state before the transaction began. Basic SQL transaction example: start transaction, update account, set balance minus 100 where account ID equal to 1. Update account, set balance plus 100 where account ID equal to 2. If everything is correct, commit the change. Commit. Rolling back to transaction. If something goes wrong during the transactions, you can use rollback to undo the changes. Here, if an error occurs before the commit statement, the rollback ensures that no changes are applied to the database. In this example, a transaction begins with start transaction. Two update statements are executed to transfer money before two accounts. If the transaction is successful, commit is issued, making the changes permanent. Transaction ACID: atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. The concept of transaction in database is defined by the ACID properties, which ensures that the database operations are processed reliably. Okay, here is the breakdown of each component of the ACID. So atomicity, all or nothing. Definition: a transaction is treated as single unit, meaning either all of its operations are executed or none are. Example: if a transaction involves transferring money from one account to another, both the debit from the account and the credit to the other must succeed. If one fails, the entire transaction is rolled back, ensuring no partial updates. Second is the consistency, that is a valid state. Definition: a transaction takes the database from one valid state to another valid state. It ensures that the rules and constraints of the database, such as the foreign keys, checks, etc., are always maintained. Example: if a rule says that the balance in an account cannot be negative, a transaction that tries to withdraw more money than the available balance will fail, keeping the data consistent. Isolation, independent execution. Definition: transactions are executed in isolation, meaning that the operations of one transaction are not visible to others until the transaction is complete. This ensures that the transactions do not interface with each other. Examples: if two users try to transfer money from same account simultaneously, isolation ensures that the final result is correct, as if they were processed one after another, even if they were processed at the same time. Durability, that is permanent. Definition: once a transaction is committed, its changes are permanent. Even the case of system crash or failure, the database ensures that the changes are returned to non-volatile storage like a disk. Example: if a transaction to transfer money is committed and the system crash afterward, the transaction's effect money transfer will still be preserved when the system recovers. So summary is atomicity, everything happens or nothing happens. Consistency, data moves from one valid state to another. Isolation, transactions don't affect each other's operations. Durability, once a transaction is completed, it's changed the permanent. Okay. So question number 18, they ask me the Git. So Git is a tool used by developers to track changes in their code and works together with others. It helps you to use some versions of your project, go back to the previous version and manage code from the multiple people. So one liner, that is super simple. Git is like a time machine for your code that also helps team work together. Okay, so command and description. Git init, start a new Git repository. Git clone URL, copy a remote repository locally. Git status, get current repo state. Git add, stage all changes. Git commit m message, save change with the message. Git push, upload local commits to the remote. Git pull, download changes from the remote. Git branch, list to create the branches. Git checkout branch name, switch to a different branch. Git merge branch name, merge another branch into the current one. Another question they ask me, the namespace. In PHP, namespace is a way to group logically related classes, interface, functions, and constant to avoid name collisions, especially in a large application or where integrating third-party libraries. Or in simple words, a namespace is like a folder for your code. It helps you avoid name conflicts when different parts of your project use the same class or function name. So example without namespace, PHP, class test, public function show, echo hello. Now imagine another file also has a test class, it will cause an error. Example with namespace, PHP, namespace my project, class test, public function show, echo hello from my project. Now PHP knows this class is part of the my project group. How to use it? So PHP require test.php, use my project test, object new test and object show. Why use it? To organize your code, to prevent class function name and conflicts, to work better with the autoloaders like Composer. Question number 20, they ask me what is the SSO. So answer is single sign on. SSO in PHP allows user to log it once and gain access to the multiple systems or application without needing to log it again for each one. Here is a basic overview and example of how to implement the SSO in PHP. So SSO, single sign-on, means login once, access all connected applications without logging it again. Simple example for interview. Let's say you have two websites, oath.example.com, which will handle login, app1.example.com, your main application. How it works in simple steps. User visits app1.example.com. If not logged in, they are redirected to the oath.example.com. User login, username plus password. A token is created and sent back to the app1.example.com. App1 user uses this token to create a local session. User is now logged into the App1 without re-entering credentials. So key points: use PHP session to keep user logged in. Use tokens base64 or JWT to pass login into between systems. Always use HTTPS for security. So simple code simplified on login user auth.example.com login.php. Session start if $post username equal to admin and $post password equal to 123. So token base 64 encode admin, header location HTTP and the URLs, and subquery token, string query $token, and application server. Session start get token, session user equal to get token, header location dashboard.php, show dashboard.php, session start echo welcome dot dollar session user. In short, SSO lets users log it once and use multiple systems. In PHP, it can be done using session and the token passed between the apps. So this was the second part of the interview. This is the first round of the interview, and now the second part of the interview, that was the client round for from the company. So question 1, OCI. They asked me, what is OCI? So I said Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI. OCI is a Oracle Cloud platform that provides infrastructure service for running enterprises workload. It offers a set of services including core features: compute, virtual machines, and bare metal servers; storage, object block and file storage; networking, virtual cloud network (VCN), load balancer, and gateways; databases, autonomous database, Oracle, Exadata, MySQL, HeatWave, etc. Container and Kubernetes, OCI, container engine for Kubernetes; monitoring and security, identity and access management, IAM, logging and monitoring tools; AI ML service, DevOps tools and analytics. Use cases: hosting application and websites, running Oracle database with high availability, disaster recovery and backup, migrating enterprise workloads from one prem to cloud. Or OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is Oracle's cloud platform, just like Amazon Web Service or Microsoft Azure. You can use OCI to run website and apps, store data, use powerful Oracle database, create virtual machines and networks. It is basically a place where companies can run their IT system online instead of using the physical servers. So, question 2. Another question they asked me, what is the IIS? So, IIS is a server. Simple explanation. IIS stands for the Internet Information Services. It is a web server created by Microsoft. It runs on the Windows Server and used to host website, run web application like ASP.NET, serve HTML, CSS, JS image to users, support HTTPS, FTP and more. Example: if you build a website and want to access it online, you can use IIS or a Windows Server to make it live. It's like Apache or Nginx, but made by Microsoft and works best with the Windows technology. Question third, they asked me, what is the load balancer? So load balancer, simple explanation. A load balancer is like traffic controller for website or apps. What it does? It distributed incoming traffic like user visiting your sites across multiple servers so that no single server get overloaded. The website stays fast and available. If one server goes down, others can still handle traffic. You have three servers running your website. When 1,000 users visit on your website, Without a load balancer, one server might crash from too much traffic. With the load balancer, it splits traffic between or among all three servers. So 333 each. Benefits: high availability, faster performance, handles more users, fault tolerance. If one server fails, other take over. Okay. So these were the question asked by the client, and the client was the Boston Consulting Group. Okay, so this entire interview has been finished now. The company name is the payroll company name is Neosoft, and location is Mumbai, and the interview date is the May 19, 2025. I will share more interview question. Till then, bye.